Yeah,
mall,
so we used to do the same thing, you know, back in the day when malls are closing and struggling to stay open in the United States.
Yeah, because, you know, with buying online, who wants to sell?
Yeah, that's been a game changer in killing brick and mortar stores.
Yeah.
This is Eddie on the Go.
Uber tells me I'm one of their most generous riders, and I'm just trying to be fair because it was the same thing with Panama. You know, the fuel costs are very expensive. So, you know, you mostly see small vehicles here because it's by necessity.
Yes.
And
For two reasons.
I'm a compassionate person. I have sympathy for people who are just trying to, you know, to survive. And like that guy the other night, I gave him 10,000 pesos, I think is what I gave him as a tip. Life's not easy in this country or city, but one thing that I like is that living in a city, you've got choices of transportation. If you want to take a bus or a taxi or whatever, they're more economical than, I mean, most people, you even mentioned the same thing. Most people that I've known here who did have cars ended up selling it because it's got to be the cost of ownership has got to be expensive unless you're very wealthy.
Buying a car can be expensive if you, I mean, some people buy used cars.
Yeah.
And then if you get the opportunity to have a down payment and, you know, and maybe pay an extra 700, 800,000 a month to get a car, then, you know, you're good to go. Going back to why you say people have small cars, yes, because most of the cars, I had a Chevy before, it's Spark GT, and it just the gas consumption was a lot, you know, better for the car, for
More
the
economical.
mileage. Yeah, it was more economical, and the size of the city. If you notice, the city tends to have small streets. So imagine if everybody had a big Toyota.
Oh, that'd be a headache.
Or trucks.
More headache than it is now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's right now, exactly. And so we always say here that they built the city not thinking ahead, not thinking forward, that it was going to grow.
Oh,
so,
sure.
you know, the streets are a little bit smaller than.
And the drainage.
And the drainage is also.
From rain.
Yeah, from
You
the
get a good rain, and sometimes I joke about, you know, streets turning into the Colorado River because there are some, and I've seen videos where, you know, you get cars washed away like you do in a flood anywhere.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Were you able to make videos or show your audience videos of how it gets?
all I did was like the runoff on after that
I
big
saw that.
storm the other day. That's the only thing I really got of like the water on the street.
Well, sadly, even people lose their lives.
Yeah.
And during that rain,
Because it's hilly, and then, you know, it's
Or
bad
sea
enough
level.
if it's on a flat level, but when you have water that could potentially from a really big thunderstorm, water rushing down a hill, and it picks up more power as it goes, and then it could hurt and kill people.
sadly, on that rain that you reported, about 3 people reported dead.
Sad.
2 of them were kids that fell on a, we call them arroyos.
Yeah, ravine, right?
Yeah, so an arroyo, so then, and another older guy, he also passed away. But,
And this
you know,
motherfucker, it's dead again?
Dead?
No, it's not. Okay, I'm watching for a blinking light. It's not blinking, but
It's
this is showing it's going. Okay, I'll edit that out.
So, yeah, that's the sad part. Those are the sad things about it. So, okay, so going back to your routine, like I said, so I think the other thing is why you feel like you lost weight is because you're walking more. I'm guessing back home you said you don't like to walk, so like everybody reports losing a little bit of weight because you really have to walk a little bit more, even if you are.
I do it for recreation. I do it like when I was at the, was it this mall? Yeah, I think it was at this mall the other day, and I walked all the way home.
But you
All
also
the way home.
have a car at home sitting in your garage, and you just
Oh, you're sitting in
walk
my
out.
garage because it doesn't work, because I don't want to spend the money. It might be too much to fix.
But the regular guy just walks out to his driveway
Sure,
and
typical,
jumps in his car and is able to go anywhere. Even if you're having a car, you might have to walk down the street or go somewhere. Like last night, you know, you got to figure out where you got to be to get picked up.
Right.
So still, and then if you're stuck and nothing's coming, your first intention is like, I gotta go. So you walk places. And if you've noticed, since it's hot, a lot of people like to be at the mall. That's one of the things that we have going on in Barranquilla right now. It's like 4 malls attached to each other.
Yeah.
So that's like the recreational part of Barranquilla at this point. How did you like that? Because you know what, I get back from the U.S. is the malls are dead. So. Oh
yeah, I mean, like my friend Chinedo had told me, he said this is a very strong mall culture here. And yeah, I guess so that you can, enjoy the air conditioning, a cooler environment that you're not having to pay the bill on. I guess that'd be very appealing for like families to like take,
This is my second office.
Yeah, I know.
Here. So let me tell you one thing. Didn't it feel back like when you were a teenager and stuff like that? Because that's what I would do when I was a teenager, just to hang out at the mall.
So we used to do the same thing, back in the day when malls are closing and struggling to stay open in the United States.
Yeah, because with buying online, who wants to sell?
That's been a game changer in killing brick and mortar stores.
Yes, but okay, so that, walking a little bit more, the food portion. So what was your favorite food in town? Like you had to have and you wouldn't mind eating every day?
Oh, well, same as in Panama. I like the Afro-Caribbean type of food. I love that. I wish I had access to that in the States. There was in downtown Modesto in my hometown, there was a man, I think he was from Jamaica or somewhere like that, and he had a Caribbean restaurant. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long. It was nice to have as long as it was there, but this was like 10, 15 years ago maybe, and so, but Mexican food is still king.
Oh yeah, Mexican food is still king.
Mexican, Thai, and Lao is about the same thing. I have a friend there was a fire at his restaurant, so he's opening the new one this month, and I can't wait. My friend opening a new restaurant in a newer part of his old restaurant was in an old building, and Indian food. So stuff like that is what's popular back home. I love spicy, flavorful food. But I mean, the burgers, I love the burgers here. There's just so many different things.
Did you notice that people don't like spicy food?
Yeah, that's Chinedu. My friend Chinedu is Nigerian, and that's his complaint because he's West African, and it's very much similar in ways, flavor-wise, to Indian and Thai food.
Okay. So, did you like the arepas or no?
Oh, I love arepas.
I was hoping
it's
that
a staple. Arepa. I love patacon.
Did you eat arepa con huevo?
No.
Okay, so those are like the typical food here. And
Comida típica?
it's very typical of the coast. It's arepa de huevo. Arepa de huevo.
Oh, I had that at Narcobollo.
Narcobollo, exactly.
One of my first visits, yes.
With all the food that you had, did you ever get food poisoning?
Never.
Good.
I had one time I'm not going to mention the restaurant because I think it was like the fruit that was in the burger. It might have been the combination between that and the beer. So it wasn't their fault. I've eaten there like, a dozen times or more, but I've never had food poisoning.
Because that's a common thing here.
Yeah. Well, you're eating things that are foreign to your gut.
Exactly.
And, it's going to take getting used to before, it's like water in some places.
The water, exactly. No, the water here is safe for us.
Yeah. I'll eat the tap, drink out of the tap.
You did? You have?
Yeah.
It never got sick?
But before I knew she had the filter.
Okay.
No, I never had any problems. I've had tap water that had way more chlorine. Fresno, California. Well, my friend used to do, the band Journey?
Mm-hmm, yes.
My friend Jim Perry, Steve Perry, that was the original singer, what he used to do is take a large boat. He would take a large Evian French, water bottle and fill it with he'd have the water heater on high setting, so it'd be the hottest water going into that bottle. Put it in the fridge. That was our drinking water that we pour into cups to drink. And it was the chlorine here in the water is just like very minor.
Yeah.
You can just barely taste it.
Good. So that's the complaint that everybody has about the water. So your routine pretty much was, around you doing your
My
presentation
channel, yeah.
and your channel. That's awesome. So I have to ask, because you come here and I have to ask, what made the decision to, I don't know if you shared it in your channel, I know the reason, but I know some of the reason, but why Barranquilla? Because everybody here, when they meet a foreigner, that's the first thing they say. So why Barranquilla? And then I'll come with another question, because that's the next
Sure.
question you'll get. But why Barranquilla? What
Barranquilla is because I met a girl on a website that I was hoping to get to know, and I don't need any. I have a video where I talk about that. But yeah, that situation didn't work out, and then I organically started meeting people. I met this really nice attorney at a club. She was there it was like singles night with her friend, and that was nice because it was like an organic meeting, kind of like with you, more or less.
Yeah, exactly. So what brought you here is what brings a lot of the men is women. It's women, like somebody that you want to meet, and I don't want to get into that topic, but it's that. So did you get to date a lot of girls? Did you meet a lot of women? Just the lawyer and the woman that you're supposed to meet? But
I never got to meet her, and I think there was like an element of scamming involved with the agency that she was probably making money by writing letters. I don't know. This is just speculation at my point.
I will not comment on that. But my other question would be: did you feel like a guy, like a kid in a candy shop? Did you definitely feel like a kid?
Okay, a lot of these guys, as we talked about before, a lot of these guys, they see these women on these websites and they're younger. Well, I'm not delusional to where I think a girl in her 20s who's supposedly writing me a letter is going to be attracted to somebody who's old enough to be her father or grandfather. That's why I go wisely try to meet women that are closer to my own age.
And just like a last question or topic, what would you do different when you get to come back? What would be like the things you do different, like where you stayed, how much money you would spend, what would you eat more, or would you cook more? Like, what would be advice that you would get to give your audience that probably comes here? Like, I did this, you should avoid that. Actually, you should do more of this, and what would be? Right
out of the gate, what I would do is, from the beginning, get an eSIM on my phone and not do the Verizon international plan, because they just keep continuing. I had an eSIM, like a month ago, and so that's one thing that's going to save me a lot of money. Yeah, I would probably cook more at home, I would probably, first of all, when I started out staying in Rio Mar, that place was expensive compared to where I am now, staying in a room. But like if I get involved with somebody and maybe she lives in a house with family members and we want to have private time, yeah, I would have to consider maybe having my own place. But right now, with my current situation, I like that because it's economical. You're constantly meeting people that come and go that also stay at that residence. And this has been good because I've just learned a lot of things by the act of doing. What places I like that I'll want to come back to, and the music, and I now know there's more places I want to visit next time for music or restaurants, or even like we talked about the Ecoparque that's new, that they opened up the first part of it, and Malecon, that's a nice area. We'll have to go next time. We'll have to go dinner there because it's like it's nice there. It's by the river, and
It's cute. It's a cute
Yeah.
deer walk. That I want to say something about that. That area for me, strikes a little like emotion because
Really?
I remember because that was nothing. That was like nothing. You would not be caught dead ever going that side. It used
Before
to be
they did the
industrial,
development.
of course. And when my grandparents, like while my grandfather was alive, my grandfather said, "Well, crap, I won't be able to get to see this. So hopefully my grandchildren will enjoy it."
Yeah.
Because that generations who paid for that. They added a certain amount of money in a developing project into their electricity bill. I think it was electricity
how
bill,
they pay for
and
it,
that's
yeah.
how it was paid for. That's the tax that was added to that. And I remember Grandpa receiving that first, so it's very emotional. I mean, if anybody in this city had to deal with that, their grandparents or somebody elderly in their family being really kind of like mad because they're like now their electricity bill went up because they added this for developing, but also at the same time saying things like my grandfather said. He said, "Well, I won't get to see it, but you will." It was very nostalgic when I got there, and I could see the moon in the river shining, like some of the songs.
Did you
There's
your grandfather?
made me think of my grandfather, but it's like, wow, we have a song that was written about the Barranquilla moon, and to see the moon shining on the river, right, and being so bright. Of course, I thought about my grandfather, but I thought like, oh, this is what they saw when they wrote this song. This is what Barranquilla is all about, and many years of living here and seeing that area being actually a dump, because it was a dump.
Yeah.
Because, that's where the boats come in and they wash from the salt water, the river water. I don't know if you knew this, and then you could see them coming in. Nobody would be caught dead going there. I mean, you would be found dead there because it was nothing. It was a dump, and now to see it becoming an affluent place or being, so
A place where
talked
families
about.
can go and
You take
restaurants.
your dogs. You have restaurants.
Yeah,
you
ride
have.
your bike.
You can try a new sport like ride your bike. Some people I see people learning how to ride a bike or how to skate there. It's really cute. It was different from. Because I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of restaurants. I mean, you can eat anything.
I've been in
I'm not sure about Thai, but
I've been
there's
in Cayman del Rio.
Yeah, but I mean, in the city, there's either you go to the mall, you go to go eat,
yeah.
and now we've got that. So
Yeah.
that was something like brought a little bit of more interest to the city.
The one thing I never got to do that's going to have to wait till next time is the shark fin. That other thing that lights up.
Okay, it's just down the street.
Yeah, and I never saw where it was, but next time.
It's in the
I mean, I
same
got
area.
to do. Yeah, right.
Most of everything.
What was I going to say? I don't know if you're familiar with Cinta Costera in Panama City.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's nice because it's got like what my high school track was. It looks like it's made from like shredded up tires, so it's a comfortable, cushy walk. And people they ride their bikes, they walk, they jog, they walk their dogs, skateboard, scooters, all that kind of stuff. It's a nice place for recreation, and they even have outdoor gym and tennis courts on that area.
Right.
But it's nice. It's nice to see cities that do that, so that it gives somewhere where people can go for cheap or free. Not like they're paying if they don't want to pay, for the restaurants or whatever. But they can just go out in the evening when it gets cooler and have some recreation with the family or a couple.
Yeah,
So
it's different. It became very different, and I don't know if you know, but Barranquilla is also very iconic for having the sports arenas, sport places. Like last night, we were watching the soccer game was here, and it's we've had Argentina, Egypt, we've had I don't know, a lot of.
And they're going to have the
great
Pan American
teams.
Games next year, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why.
And they're doing another development by
one.
Miramar.
We already
They're
have
expanding
one.
on it.
And there's a lot of other, like there's tennis, there's skating, there's swimming.
And that's great too, because that brings tax money to the city.
Exactly. It brings in more tourists.
Yeah. Now, did I ever tell you about how I first knew of Barranquilla?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, when I was 14 years old at my Catholic high school, there was a girl who was 12 who was an exchange student, and she was from here. And yeah, I tried to use my basic Spanish back then to tease her and whatever. But yeah, that's when I first learned of the city. So when I got on that one website and started talking to this one woman, I thought, how interesting that she's from Barranquilla, because I think in the beginning, the women who were writing me letters supposedly were from like Medellin, and Cartagena.
Where they think that everybody wants to go to them.
A few moments later.
So what would you rate Barranquilla, like from 1 to 10, from all the cities and countries you've been to? Barranquilla is the only city in Colombia you've been to, correct?
Yes.
Did you get to go to the close cities like Cartagena and Santa Marta?
No, I didn't this time. It was kind of a money management thing, you know, because with the phone cutting so deep into my bank account and all that kind of thing.
To the budget.
I just thought that, you know, my focus was to try to experience how life would be here if I like it enough to, like, you know, want to settle here.
Got it.
So
what would you rate it from 1 to 10?
I would put it right up there with Panama City, because I have the same kind of, I fell in love with Panama City and I fell in love with Barranquilla, and so if I give Panama City a 10 based on the same criteria, I give Barranquilla the same. There are things that are different. Panama City, of course, is a little more Americanized, and this is Colombian.
Yeah, this is Colombian. It still has a lot of the culture is still intact. Yes. What would be like the situation for you to decide? You know, Barranquilla. What would be? Scratch that. I think you'd have to scratch that one because that's not a question. Like, okay, you haven't been to other parts of the country, so did you think that probably your audience would think that you're being a little biased with Barranquilla being?
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't experienced. Everybody's doing videos on Cartagena and Medellin. I'm kind of glad that I did so much here in Barranquilla, because I don't think it gets the attention. Even other YouTubers that come here, they'll say the same thing. It's
carnivals.
like
That's all they come here.
No, but I mean the ones that live in like Manizales and you know, the Medellin region and Cali, they'll come here and they'll like point out that it doesn't get the attention that these other cities get, because like especially Medellin, you've got the gringos will go there for like sex tourism or, you know, drugs to party, and then it's like fuck around and find out, because, you know, they get scopolamined and robbed, and some people get killed. It's just a matter of people being stupid. But I mean, here, yeah, you still have to have situational awareness and watch your back, watch what you're doing, pay attention to your surroundings. But I feel that this is a pretty safe, you know, city. Safety, I'll put like a lot up there with Panama City. It's really nice. I love it here.
And I'll give you my take on that.
Sure.
The thing is that if you go to any area where there's a lot of tourists, like if you go to Cartagena, a lot of people complain about Cartagena because they are getting, you know, scammed, and, you know, all the
people hitting them up for
street vendors.
Yeah.
What I call Gringo tax. Gringo tax and stuff like that. Here, since we're not that used to it and we're really not interested, that's not what brings, you know, that's not, like, we know Barranquilla is not the city that is so touristical, that the beaches or the story of Pablo Escobar, and then the carnivals, like I said, is just once a year, and everybody else just comes for business. A lot of people come here for business because this is an industrial city. Barranquilla has its own population that generates itself every year, because there's a lot of schools. There's a lot of schools, and this is the biggest city in the coast area nearby that will, you know, you can send your child and they'll still be safe and they'll go to a good school.
Yeah.
Not saying that there aren't other better schools. I want to put that in other cities, but Barranquilla has many options within, you know, price range that you can still say, oh, my kid went to school in Barranquilla.
It's similar in Panama City too, because that's a business center, and so they have schools for like the foreigners to give their kids a good education and with bilingual with English
And then there's always going to be all kinds of people. There's going to be the people who want to take advantage of you, and that happens everywhere in the world. They'll take advantage of you because you're a tourist. I've been a tourist myself. That's because now you can bring dogs into it.
Oh.
So I've been a tourist myself, in Egypt and India and Mexico. And Mexico I kind of fit in, but they still figured that I was a tourist at some point. But like
I would think you would fit in really well in
Monterrey, Mexico. I love it.
Well, that city too, but Mexico City.
Yeah. So, and then, in Egypt, I never felt gringo tax, but I did feel like as a foreigner because of the way you're dressed and the girls there wear hijab and all that. But I did feel like at some points I would be paying less if I was a local.
Right.
And it happened. I went to the museum, and the museum, they have a price for the locals and they have a price for the tourists in the Museum of Cairo. So with that being said, it's going to happen everywhere in the world, and everybody's going to try to take advantage. I see it here more like, okay, let's just take a little advantage of this guy here, but you don't hear as much as the foreigner came, I guess because there are less and there's less stories about it. But other than that, people are just minding their own business. It is you being around the wrong people, not really getting, like, when I told you, did you Google?
Family and whatever.
Did you Google? Did you Google this? Did you Google, like, where to go? Because, you pretty much kept very safe. You didn't tell me stories about, like, I hear guys that tell me other stories. I ended up in this side of town. I ended up on this. They called me, the driver made me pay this, and I figured out that, they charged me, like, triple, quadruple the price.
The worst, and I did a video on that, when I went to what you informed me was downtown, the Plaza de San Nicolas, and there were a lot of the Venezuelan refugees, homeless people sleeping in the shade in the parks. I even see that here in the parks here.
Yeah.
But that one woman with the garbage breath in the church that was like trying to scam me, and then she got mad when I said I didn't have any money. But yeah, that was but even before that, when I was getting food, and the girl as I was choosing out my dedito and whatever, I had my camera sitting on a counter or whatever, and there was a guy who was eyeballing it, and she told me, hey, move it over here, and then the owner went and chased him off. But yeah, that was the worst of, everything else has been great. But like you said, I went into a place that was really not good. Didn't know that, but then my friend told me later, he says, yeah, that's not a good area to go by yourself.
Every
but it
time.
was at
like
night,
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't at night, it was daytime.
It was daytime.
Still,
if you go to many of those places, something might happen.
Yeah.
And it will be just an opportunity type of thing. You were given the opportunity. Are there gangs? Are there scammers? Yes. Are there people if you use a little bit of common sense, and I read this, I don't know if you shared it, I posted it as my status a few days ago. I read the story about a guy who got drugged in Bogota and I guess kidnapped for 3 days. I can't remember. I didn't want to be honest, I didn't want to hear that because no your common sense. But somebody wrote in the comments, and I can send you the post so you can probably share it with your audience.
Okay.
And it said, if she looks like Sofia Vergara and she's dying to go back to your hotel, dude, you're getting robbed.
Right. No, people are stupid. I mean, common sense, dude. A young woman isn't going to want to date typically more than 3 years older than her. She's going to want to be closer to her own age. But it's like these agencies, they show these girls that look like models and writing you these letters, and it's like they have professional writers who are doing this stuff, obviously. But then you get these guys that think that they're going to have interest in you when you're like 20, 30, whatever years older. Use some fucking common sense. That just doesn't.
Let's just put that into context and see what happened. There's a lot of great women in Colombia. There's a lot of great women. But the way that some other, like, I don't know, TV shows, and I hate to say it because I know some of the people that watch this that probably live in Medellin, they're going to say that I keep blaming Medellin. But yes, the thing that's happening in Medellin right now, where a lot of foreigners are getting heat because of the way they treat the women, and they're basically just spoiling them to death. And then that goes back to the cartel era, where the cartel and drug dealers will, spoil the women,
stack of money,
or give them pay for their. So it's there. You know what I mean? It's just now it's not
social conditioning from a different way.
Exactly. So what I would say about that is that there's a lot of good girls out there, and what's happening is that some of those good girls, for example, in Medellin that I get to talk to, they wouldn't be caught dead with a foreigner because they don't want to be stigmatized about they're doing that.
Bad reputation.
Bad reputation. So the good girls that are out there working, you just gotta ask yourself, like, if they have no job, they don't do anything, they don't have any money, they don't have work, who's getting their surgeries, who's doing
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you are thinking that you're gonna have a relationship with a person that you met in a club, in a bar, and they look like, they just came out of surgery, plastic surgery, you have to ask yourself, if you think you're gonna have a relationship, you're gonna be just casual sex, just be smart about it. Be very smart about it.
Well, then you're better off going to a place that's more like a bordello, where the government, controls it and whatever. If that's what you're, not my thing. But I mean, a good girl obviously is going to want to get to know you more before she, gives it up. And
there's a lot of dating tips and advice that I always give guys. It's about, then it goes to what you're saying, attraction. It's about the attraction.
Sure.
Did women back 20 years ago like men that were a lot older than them? Yes, they would. That would be like that. Life changes.
A security,
and people are developing.
a security thing, where financial security is.
Financial. This is what I grew up believing. This is what I'm okay with. Cultural thing. However, as life develops, feminism and all that. People want to date their age. I mean, I have 20-year-olds kids. I see their girlfriends. They would not date somebody that looks like their father, so they're not going to do that if they are well educated, not well educated top university, but have a good home basis education, and I get to say, when you go to places where people are less fortunate, you see more people living together, because the less you have, the more people you need, so your resources are combined.
Right. Sure.
The more that you start getting educated and having a little bit more, the less you need people, and then you're not going to settle. So you're not going to settle for something that you're not fully attracted to, that is not going to be your expectations. Well, with that, I'm not trying to say that it doesn't happen to younger, good-looking, well-off guys. It does happen too. They get drugged, they get mugged, they get, because they simply believe that this is, the best they can get, because they don't get that back. So yeah.
So is this where I get to ask you something?
Okay.
So Maria, tell my audience what you do for a living.
Well, it's hard to say, because some people would say that this is a very unusual job for Colombians. I started being a matchmaker 20 years ago and a matchmaker, in the sense of the word, I help foreign men, specifically, that's my niche. I help foreign men find Colombian women for marriage, because they are, into Latinas, the culture, and my age range for the men goes between 20 to 45, 50 years old at this point. So I've been doing that for many years.
And explain why you speak such great English.
Like I mentioned at the beginning, I grew up in Florida. I went to school in Florida, started traveling when I was very young. I went to school in Miami. The other little Barranquilla.
Yeah.
I went to school in Miami, and that's basically, English has been everything for me. It's been like my means of, because I've done other things. I've taught English, I've worked in call centers, I've gotten positions, and it's all because of I think in English. Everything I do revolves around English. I was formerly married to a foreigner, so that's what I do. My business partner is American, so that's all I do. Speak English all day long. Write it, speak it, teach it.
Cool. Well, have you given them enough?
I think
okay.
that's all the questions I had.
When I come back, I'll do maybe a more comprehensive, if you want to, kind of like borderline promoting your business, to where maybe, if you want that,
well,
draw.
I can do a day in the life of a matchmaker with somebody.
Yeah, we can do something like that.
I can send you some clips.
After things get more settled in your current situation.
Yes, I'm moving, we're changing some
Yeah.
stuff. But you know what I like to do? Did you ever have that Arabic food?
No, I didn't. Can we do that tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I was going to invite you for lunch. So
Okay.
if you wanted to get some lunch, Arabic food, because I know you hadn't tried it, and
Right.
that's something probably you can add to your.
Definitely.
Because if we are very, very the Lebanese culture is very infiltrated.
After the wars, okay, for my viewers that aren't aware, there are a lot of Arab and Jewish people that migrated to here during the 20th century, especially after world wars and civil wars and things like that. So it's got a very strong, there are a lot of like Lebanese and I think even Syrian restaurants. So yeah, I mean the street that I lived on previous to my current, there were like many on the street, and I saw a lot of that downtown too. So yeah, get to absorb some more culture from them. Anyway, so this is where we'll wrap up. We're gonna go have lunch.
Thank you
So
much for
thank you
having
for
me.
sticking around, hopefully till the end. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.
Ciao.
A few moments later.
Let's go. More jerky with an iPhone because you're not holding onto a handle.